we should probably go ahead and get started. Yeah, because it's 1:08 p.m. Just to check with everyone. So we have fall engagement sessions starting Monday. Caitlin was kind enough with some assistance from Darren to make sure we had slides. So I thought it might be a useful time for us to take a look at that, so everyone would be on equal footing when we go in on Monday for the public engagement session and get any feedback. I'm mostly thinking of this as a preview since it's Friday and the sessions are happening on Monday. And we got good feedback around the overall questions and direction at our last committee meeting. Does that sound, I just want to check and see if that sounds right to everyone, or if there's anything else, since we just have the one agenda item.
The only thing I want to note is when you say we're on an even keel, obviously some of us are not coming, just to be clear, because we're in other ones. So
when I say even keel, I mean, I don't want any of the committee members to not know what we're talking about or what the frame is. Like
very good.
And I'm good with that definition. Thank you, Representative.
Okay, other thoughts? Okay, so I will. Oh, did you make it so I can share my screen?
Can I just pose two questions? And maybe this is what you're going to get to. Are we going to see that mapping exercise? Is that part of what?
We're going to talk through
the
presentation so we know what's happening.
Right. Okay.
Is that a better way to, is that a clearer way to frame it?
That's fine. I just wanted, I was sort of curious what that was. And then I had one substantive thing about a question that I would add in. I don't know if it's, maybe too late and you may just want to do it informally, but those are the two things I wanted to get in. So you just tell me where and when.
Okay, so it sounds like this is the right agenda item to talk through. I am trying to, Caitlin, actually, I mean, I'm happy to talk through, but I don't know if you would prefer to do it since you put the presentation together.
So I actually walked out of the room for like a minute. So I just walked in when I heard my name. Sorry.
No, I was going to say our only agenda item today is talking through the slides. Just so the committee knows, what we have.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And
I'm happy to present your work, but I actually think it would be better if you present your work.
Okay,
it's great work.
Thank you. Yeah, I can do that. The slides really just correspond with that Google Doc that was linked in the bottom. So I know that Ruth looked at it because she mentioned the power mapping activity, right? So I will share my screen so that everybody, sorry, can somebody make me a co-host so I can, or giving me the share screen ability.
Ebony Rose, could you, I made you host. Could you make Caitlin?
Oh, yes. Okay, I have it now.
I made it all panelists.
Great. Okay. Okay, so I guess I will start with the considerations for just what I had discussed with Ebony Rose and Darren in terms of like what we want to achieve from the fall engagement sessions. And so we discussed how we want it to be structured more like a focus group, and we want to dedicate the session to gathering people's input. And the most productive use of our time is to hear from people how they are experiencing, how they navigate the structure. And I think what was really helpful was also framing like, or trying to get at who have people interacted with and what were the qualities of those experiences that they've had interacting with people in the education system. And also we were wanting to be sensitive about making sure that people who are not as fluent in our structure to be able to share their experiences alongside people who already have opinions about our structure, just so that nobody feels intimidated and feels like they can just talk freely about what they live through on the daily basis. So going into that and understanding that, I propose that the goals that we share out with people is to understand how constituents experience, navigate, and interact with DC's education system and how they feel about it. And then to, not just to understand how people feel, but to at least initially gather feedback on, ways in which, after discussing it, they think we can, not better arrange, but how to better the system to better serve its residents. So there is going to be an introduction. It'll be name, preferred gender pronouns, and then it's not really an icebreaker. It's more so just like a priming question to get people situated into the conversation that we're going to have for the next hour. And these questions, for the most part, are all derived from that SharePoint document that Ebony Rose had created, and in terms of there were 3 sets of questions, and the first one was about perception. So these 2 I thought were good opening questions. So what words come to mind when you think of governance and decision making, and what words or feelings come to mind when you think of DC's education governance system? So I think you can choose which one you want to answer, right? And then after people go around and talk and discuss, we will share what the session is about, and then go into the goals, that the aforementioned ones over here. And then the next section would be, so the next section is also dedicated to understanding people's perceptions about how they understand the DC education system. So we'll hand out a stack of Post-its and to our participants and a writing utensil. And then we will ask them who they think are the stakeholders within DC's education system. And then we can give some guiding prompts too, like what are the education government agencies that you've interacted with in the past? Are there community organizations and advocacy groups? Who would you try to contact if you needed help with an education related issue? And even asking who do you think sets the policies for schools in DC? Who do you consider to be the decision makers? And also, again, in case people do not know which agency they worked with, because there are so many, you can just ask them to describe what the issue was, right? So if they were well, I worked with somebody who helped me with enrollment, or I reported a building facilities issue, they can write that down. And based on that, we can intuit what agency they might have worked with. Right. So, okay. And then we'll give them just about 5 minutes to write that down, and then we'll share out what people have written. And then with those Post-its, we'll move into this power map activity. So it's really a matrix of the vertical line is between a sliding scale, I guess, of more authority to less authority. And then from left to right would be less helpful and responsive to more helpful and responsive. And the idea is that people will take their Post-it notes and place their Post-it note on where they think this Post-it note fits in this matrix, right? So I guess in a way you would be gauging how people feel about how much power they think certain agencies have relative to others. And the left to right scale is useful in understanding if they felt like they were helped out or not. And so we can talk, once everybody puts down their responses, we'll give a minute to look over everything. And I think it'd be really interesting if people had written the same agencies, but they were placed in different spots on the map. That might be a discrepancy to talk about and dig into. And I think that it'll be interesting, especially in the less helpful but more authority quadrant, and then also in the less authority and more helpful quadrant too. That will be interesting to talk through. I think people will come with a bunch of stories. So I think that will take up some time to just dig into people's experiences. And then we'll take a picture of this for memorializing it, just because we have 2 sessions in one day. And then in terms of the discussion, again, these questions were drawn from the Word document that Ebony Rose had created. So after we've laid out the map, we can sit in the semicircle or in the chairs, however we arrange them. But, how do you feel that DC's education system incorporates feedback from you into the decision-making processes? Like, where do you go to look if you wanted to find information about who is responsible for stuff in education DC? What's one issue or concern which you feel has taken too much time to address? And what is the biggest challenge you face as a constituent when it comes to governance and decision-making? I think people will have, I think that people can also choose. Yes, Alex, I wrote that at 1:09 a.m. I have a really weird sleeping schedule. I think those questions are really good for figuring out, again, like which issues, they feel like, because I think when you come up with issues, you'll also touch on if they were confused about which agency to go to and all that. So I think that'll be really useful. And then after we talk about the problems, I want people to walk away feeling like they were given an opportunity to think, future oriented and looking ahead. So I guess when you ask, like, what would you change? How would you improve it? And what would make you feel heard? I think that'll be really good discussion questions. And then at the end, revisiting the power map, we can ask people, how would you rearrange these post-its? These agencies and these constituents and these stakeholders to reflect a DC education system that would serve you. And then we'll take a picture of that. And then just for our own notes. And then Ebony Rose and I had mentioned that OSA has a lot of great resources on just navigating DC's education system overall. And we did know that we didn't want to front load everybody with a ton of information about how to navigate the bureaucracy, because that's not the best use of our time, because we only have about an hour. So we'll just hand out some resources from OSA. I did reach out to Renata, and I am waiting for a response to see which resources they would recommend for us to share out to people. So yeah, that is my walkthrough, and I will take questions or something like that.
Thank you, Caitlin. I see Emily coming off mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. I have kids here. Never mind. Somebody else go first.
Okay. Emily has kids in her background. So I thought this was particularly helpful. And I'll say why I thought it was particularly helpful to give people time to jump in. It was important to me to recognize that we could have different people with different levels of information about the governance structure showing up, and they may or may not be able to articulate, my issue is with OSSE, my issue is with the council, I think it should be this, but people are experts in their own experiences. I think Caitlin did a really good job turning our questions that we wanted to know from people into something that was interactive. I also actually really appreciate her distinguishing between responsiveness as a priority and ability to do something. And so I thought that was helpful. Those are my kind of initial thoughts. And I think that this is a good, it is the right, it's the right activity for the chunk of time that we have, because we do have an hour. We do want to encourage conversation. We also have some specific types of questions we want answered. So I thought this was actually great framing. Wow, Emily is waiting for her background to clear. I don't know if anyone else had other thoughts. And Ruth, I don't know if this helps answer your initial question around the power mapping activity.
So it did help to answer the question that I wanted to make sure was there, which was to give people an opportunity to talk about sort of what the issues have been I think especially about reopening and about sort of the lack of HVAC and sort of, you know, when, and that was there, sort of what are the problems? And so that was there. On the power map, I'm not sure I quite get it. I don't need to get it, so don't do it for me, but I'm not sure that I get, like where I would put my pin, so to speak, and how I would, like, do you need an issue on it? Like on getting something fixed? What, you know, where are we on authority and responsiveness? I think those were the two axes. So that would be my only question, you know, if you want to think at all about how you pose that so people get it. But like I said, if I'm the one that doesn't get it, that's not important.
When you say don't get it, do you not understand the instructions? Is it unclear like how to interact with the activity?
I
think
guess
I want
it's
to
the
better
instruction. In
understand.
other words, am I saying that overall in DC, here's where I put my pin on this point of authority and authority and responsiveness? Or am I doing it on a specific agency or a specific issue?
Oh, it's like,
No, it's
an
oh, sorry.
agency.
Yeah, it's about individual experience. So for example, if I was a parent who showed up and testified in front of the state board around reopening, and I put my pen around SBOE, and I said, oh, they actually asked me some really good questions, and they followed up and they shared what I heard with the council and whatever else. I might rank them really high in responsiveness. Can they affect the thing I showed up to testify about? Less so, because those are typical things outside of our purview. So I might rank them low in authority. And those are two different things. And so I think the fact that it's a matrix is really helpful to parse out when people are having these interactions, instead of them saying, you know, what's currently the SBOE is not great. It gives you a sense of why. Like, is it that people aren't responding to you, or is it that people don't have the authority to affect the problems you're trying to solve? Is that helpful?
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. So we're doing that for each of the different agencies, each of the different major agencies?
So it's not so much that we're doing it for each agency and saying, tell me your experience with the SBOE. We're doing it to map experiences. So if I might not have interacted with, I don't know, DGS, but I may have put in a facilities request or talked to my school about a facilities request. So we're doing it for the experiences that people have. So they would, as opposed to like saying, all right, who has something for the council or who has something for the mayor? We're saying, based on your experience and your interaction, how did this play out for you? Whatever they are. And then they would describe, that's why they have the Post-its, because they would have described what the issue is and how it played out.
Okay. I get it now. Thank you.
Hi,
Hey.
I'm back. I just was curious if we are planning to show folks I think the Office of the Student Advocate has a what do you call it, like an organizational chart of all the agencies, and would that be something that's helpful, or are we already planning to do that? I'm sorry, I missed the beginning.
Oh, so Caitlin and I talked about this. We are not planning to do a presentation and walk people through like how the Office of the Student Advocate does, which is more like a training on governance. We are planning, and Caitlin reached out to Renata to have some of those materials present to guide people along, because we really want to use the time to capture people's experience as opposed for it to be a training on governance. But we realized that some of those tools might be needed to aid people in capturing their experience.
Right. No, that makes total sense. I mean, that was sort of how I was imagining it, but I think having them as something like a piece of paper people can actually hold and look at while they're thinking is probably important. A good way to do it. Yeah. I was just curious, this is not related to the presentation, but just do we know how many folks have signed up, have registered in general?
Let me pull that up right now. The last time I checked was like noon yesterday, and we would have about like 10 people per, like on November 15th, because there are like 2 breakout sessions that will happen. There would be 10 per.
So about 20 folks had signed up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not terrible.
Yeah, it's not
Not-
terrible at all.
Not everybody will show up, but
Yeah. Right
but
now
some
we
people
have-
who didn't register will show up. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So overall, across both days, we have 51 respondents, like 51 people who signed up. And I'm trying to find the breakdown of like for each day. Hold on. Okay, so we have 30 people who have signed up for Monday. So that's not bad. We will definitely have food for people. And Ebony Rose, you'll be happy to know that Ward 7 leads in the amount of people who have RSVP'd.
Nice.
Not for long. Okay.
So yeah, I will actually send the breakdown to everybody just so everybody will know. I'll send it today so everybody knows how many people will be in each session.
And is there a deadline for signing up? I mean, if people still sign up this weekend, can they do that, or?
Yeah.
The deadline passed? Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's just, I guess like you could even like sign up the hour before and just show up. I mean, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Just had a logistical question too about those of us who are in multiple committees. I guess we will just go between. But if there are specific roles the chairs would like somebody like me to play, then I'm just kind of throwing that out there to let me know, because I guess I am only in this one, actually, now that I think of it, but I think of myself as part of the accountability one as well. So yeah, I guess Ebony Rose, if there was anything in particular you thought we should do, or if we're just kind of there, you know, as representing, that's fine too.
I don't know if there's anything specifically that's needed, because yeah, let me think about that. Let me think about that.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we're talking through today, so we can
Yeah.
think about those
I mean,
things.
it's good to like put ourselves there and sort of think about what it's going to be like. It's exciting. I feel like we haven't done anything like this in so long.
Yeah, I went to pick up flyers, and Darren already had like the bags packed and all the things. So that was nice to see.
Oh
Any
yeah,
other-
I should do that. Okay, anyway, sorry, go on.
No worries. Any other questions, comments, feedback? Do people feel comfortable with this activity? Do they feel like it's helpful and it accomplishes what we would want to accomplish at this point?
We will find out.
I will largely take silence as agreement. Ruth, when you say we will find out, do you feel like there's something that's missing, or is that uncertainty?
No, I mean, I think it's always kind of a question about how general or how specific you want to be. This will be, you know, it's general questions. It's not, you know, do you think the state board should move here, or we should have this kind of a election, or blah, blah, blah. And I think it'll be interesting to get, you know, just we'll hopefully it'll produce some general sense to us about how people, you know, feel about it, right? Not so much what to do about it, but how they feel about it, how responsive it is. So that'll be interesting to hear what people say.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's helpful because I think that actually is the goal, is to see like where people are, where they feel, what the experiences have been at this point. This is our, you know, when I look at I guess when I revisit like our work plan, that's where we are at this stage. And so like this we will use this information to layer onto the different like research components and some of the expert interviews and see like where there are commonalities and or places for action and or just other questions that we might need to ask a little bit more clearly. And so that I think that's where we are at this point, and that's what I would hope for. It's just a better, it's just like I don't know if a gut check is the right word, but a gut check of like, all right, this is what people, where people are. Because I don't think we've ever asked specifically about governance. I think that we have seen some symptoms that people have come to testify about and have drawn some inferences from that.
Can I ask, I'm sorry, I missed the beginning again, but what is the objective of the power mapping in particular? Is it to see what people's perspectives are on which agencies have more authority than others, or yeah, what is the?
So that part is less about perspectives and really about capturing experiences. And so saying like, okay, instead of asking someone, do you like the SBOE? So like I use the example of reopening. It would capture someone saying like, okay, I was frustrated with reopening and I showed up and testified in front of the SBOE about that. Would be the experience, let's say, is an example of an experience that might come up. They would then map on that chart and say, the SBOE maybe was very responsive to me. They asked me good questions. They followed up with my concerns. They sent a letter advising other stakeholders what could be done to address them. However, as far as the authority to do something about it in the map, maybe my thing wasn't resolved because the SBOE didn't have the authority to do it. And so the power mapping exercise, the goal is to help us chart people's experiences in the education landscape with different implications for governance and who has authority and how people are experiencing that authority. Does that make sense?
I guess it's the name then that confuses me, because it's, yeah, no, I mean, that activity makes sense. I just wonder how many folks would know why their request was not responded to. I mean, I sometimes don't know, like when I try to get information. I mean, I do, but you know what I mean? Like, I just think like people might, yeah.
The point is not why. That's exactly why we're not asking why or what do you think somebody should do. We're literally asking. So like,
right. No, I
yeah.
get that. I guess, but
and then
what
we
you
would
were
talk
saying
through
was
on
like,
the backhand.
yeah.
I mean, on the back. That's why we would talk through on the back end.
So what is the mapping part? I guess that's what I'm confused about. And maybe, I didn't see the visual for more than a second on my phone. Would it be possible to send it, Caitlin, to me? Or was that in one of the documents?
It was.
It's like the link that was all the way at the bottom in the original message, but I can always resend it.
Okay, in the original. Sorry about that. So yeah, what is the power mapping part? That's what I'm getting caught on. I don't understand that part. I understand like gathering people's experience with different agencies. I think that's super valuable. So maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's just a semantic thing, but I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
And if I may, I do a lot of power mapping in my own career and execution of my own job, is always interesting to find out how different people in different groups perceive how things are working. for them based on where they are located or their socioeconomic situation. So you do a power mapping just to see, like, personally from where I sit, I may get a response because of who I am and what I've done and stuff like that, as opposed to someone else who's in Ward 8 when they try to navigate these different aspects, because I do carry a certain amount of relationship power and positional power. And so you want to find out what's your experience been based on your just everyday, trying to navigate this thing of governance and public education. So that's how I see power mapping. And I do that a lot in my own job just to make sure that I'm being very equitable, and it speaks to equity a lot as we try to talk about equity. So Emily, if that helps in some way, that's what I see power mapping as.
Yeah, I get that, but you just included an analysis in what you described of why, and that's fine. I don't want to like perseverate on this. I agree with Ruth, like, well, I think it's a good activity. I guess my other question is just, will we have an opportunity to meet again before December 4th? Because I think it'd be awesome to be able to debrief about how it went and any tweaks we might want to make, just based on, things that went as planned or things that could have been better.
We don't currently have another meeting scheduled. I'm just also going to highlight that might be difficult because Thanksgiving is in between the two.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
We're in the
So-
slide. I forgot. We're in the total holiday slide now. All right. Well, maybe an offline thing then, just like over email, we can figure it out.
Representative Gasoy,
Yes.
I will note that I think internally staff are hoping to have that type of conversation. So if there are things and adjustments that we think might be appropriate to make between the two sessions, we can make sure that that's relayed to representatives.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Anything else? I think we answered most of the questions. I see Ruth's box type lighting up.
Oh, I think that's just my cats. Sorry.
I'm about to jump off so I can go back to the hearing. I want to hear the hearing on the superintendent, want to hear more voices. So I'm about to tune into that. So I have no more questions or anything at this particular point. Ruth, I will touch base with you. So I will see everybody. If you don't have anything else, Representative Thompson, for this committee, I'm going to jump off.
No, this was
And
the
just-
agenda item, and I didn't hear anybody suggest an additional agenda item. So
And
Sorry.
Representative Patterson, you have some documents that I sent you. So just
Yes, ma'am. I will
And
look at those.
let
and
me know when we can talk. All right, very
I'm gonna
good.
touch
Thank
base
you.
with you in just a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to thank you, Representative Thompson and staff, for putting this together. I think it looks great, and I'm really looking forward to Monday. And I Alex, is it possible to come and pick up flyers still?
I would say the answer is yes. I would say the ball would be in Darren's court to print those off before the end of today. And then I think you could definitely pick them up. And then you could drop off the tabletop.
I know. I was
and
just
translation
thinking that.
equipment.
My only fear, it is vaguely familiar to me. Like, this is 2 years ago, right? That we used the headphones.
Yeah.
There was some issue with them, but I can't remember if it was resolved and then I got them back, or if I just don't remember. There is a chance that they don't work properly.
Okay.
So that's just a
Um,
heads up on that. It's very vague
Okay.
to me. I mean, I know that happened. I just can't remember if they were fixed or not.
And also Caitlin can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that the translation is actually needed for the December 4th.
Oh,
session,
good.
Not
Okay.
the November 14th or 15th one, but that could have changed since I last heard.
Okay, well, that would
So
be
we
good
could
because that
work
would give
out
us a
technology.
chance. Yeah, okay, cool.
But yeah, if you need
Darren,
flyers, yeah, I would connect with Darren.
okay, cool. I will let you know if I'm planning to come down. I have to
Okay,
look at.
great. I'll be
Okay.
here probably until 6-ish.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
All right, cool. Thank you.
All right.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
Representative Thompson, bye.
I thank you all.